make another video because somebody wanted to talk about solar farms and co-ops. And it's a topic I don't talk about a whole lot, but I happen to know a little bit about it. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background info. Man, I'm going to show my age here. Yes, I need a haircut. Maybe tomorrow, not tonight. So, years ago, I had this cool idea that instead of putting solar on everybody's house, you could... some people, their houses suck for it. They live in a jungle, they're down in a ditch, like in a valley or something. The sun doesn't get in there. There's a bunch of beautiful trees there, and they don't want to, the sun just doesn't get in. So they're not going to cut all their trees. They're not going to change their roof. The ground mounts are expensive. They just don't have the perfect place, and then maybe they want to move in like 2 years. So I'm like, maybe you shouldn't invest in solar. Wait till you get your forever home, or at least a home you're going to be in there for 10 years on. So here's what we could do. Here's the great idea. Get ready. Are you sitting down? Prepare yourselves. You could get a piece of land and roll out a solar farm on it. So now we're going to make a field of solar. This is before we ever had any big fields of solar in New Brunswick. And what you can do is, instead of investing your money on your own home, you can invest your money in a big pot, and say you put $1,000 in, which you couldn't put solar on a home for $1,000. But let's say you just purchase $1,000, and that gives you, I don't know, 4 solar panels in a solar field. You want to spend $10,000, you can get X amount of solar panels in a field. It's going to be cheaper because we've got economies of scale. We're going to build this all at once. You're going to have it pointing exactly where it needs to be to make the best sun and the best production throughout the run of the year. It's going to be maintained. It's going to be fenced in. It's not going to be where you're at, which is fine, because if you sell your house, you can apply that credit towards the power bill on your next house, and maybe the power bill on your next house is more, so you want to buy more pieces of the co-op, of the farm. So great idea, right? It's like, oh, this is super cool. You don't have to have solar on your house. You can put it somewhere else. So this exists in different parts of the world, and I wanted to bring this to New Brunswick. I thought it would be cool. We could build it. I'll skim a little off the top, do some maintenance, maybe a little residuals, and then people can have solar cheaper than they could do it on their own home. And with economies of scale, we get a great discount on, pallets or containers and containers of solar. And MB Power will buy it from us for what we pay for it. And you can actually partner with MB Power or your power company and apply the credit that your solar makes against your bill on your home. And like I said, if you move or if your loads change, you can buy more. If you want out, you can sell it to someone else. So, cool idea, right? So he formed a company called Jump Energy, and there was 4 partners. Myself, Phil Curley. I'm going to name drop Phil. He's one of the guys that was pretty passionate about it, hotspot parking. He's a little bit younger than me, and we still talk about this often. Excuse me. And then a couple other guys that have some businesses in the downtown. And so we went to present this idea because we want to partner with municipalities. So Moncton was the municipality that we partnered with. It went to council, unanimously gave us the A-OK. They gave us like 4 different sites to do this, and it was indicated to us by MB Power that we needed to put this by a load. So a big consumer, and it was actually the new high school that was out McLaughlin, I think was the name of the road was. So you had this cool idea, and we were going to sell pieces of this co-op or investment, and what we needed was a power purchase agreement. And I kind of made a name for myself. I was doing seminars back when I used to cut my hair, and Susan Holt was she was the right-hand lady to Brian Gallant. They were doing a energy summit, it's called. So it was different places around the province, and we'd have sit-downs and eat really nice sandwiches and say nice things about each other and not actually do anything. Sorry, that's true. Anyway, I stopped going to those because there's things to do that the private sector needs to do, and the government can go there and eat all their sandwiches and pat each other on the back and do stuff. But anyway, I was heavily involved in this stuff I did a little presentation, some at UMB, MBCC. There was a group in Sackville that was quite interested in this model, and it sounds great, right? So I was dealing with some of the higher ups at MB Power, and I'll tell you where it stopped. It stopped at the 9th floor of MB Power in Fredericton with Keith Cronkite, who was the CEO at the time after Gaetan, I believe, and before Miss Clark, Lori Clark. So, and I really liked Keith Cronkite because he gave me a good straight answer, and I like straight answers. I don't like these maybes, or I don't like this. So just keep working at it, and you'll get it. I like, give me a yes or a no, and the no came from the 9th floor of MB Power, because at the end of the day we couldn't get what's called a PPA, a power purchase agreement. So that means it's an agreement that, hey, if you build this, we will purchase the power from you at the rate that you would like. So with MB Power, there's multiple layers that you can sell power at. So net metering, it gives you, it's what almost all of the work that I've done is all net metering. It's under 100 kilowatts, so it's residential, small businesses. We get the same rate that we pay. Then there's embedded energy, and that is a negotiated rate. And so 16 cents a kilowatt hour right now is what we pay, what you guys pay. And that's a good rate if you were to sell that back. It's a great rate for solar. Embedded, I think it has to be a negotiated rate. So that would be anything north of 100 kilowatts, and it would need to have a power purchase agreement. And then there's like large scale stuff, like transmission size stuff, which would be like wind turbines, big generators. So if I was running a big diesel plant or something, or St. John Energy used to have generators, and they would do these agreements at the transmission level. So, and down in Texas, they were doing transmission level solar at like 4 cents a kilowatt hour 15 years ago. So they really weren't, it's big stuff, and they don't get a huge rate for it because the power companies need to make some money. They got overhead and transmission lines, and they manage their transformers, and you know, the linesmen got to go to Tim Hortons, and people need paid, and blah blah blah. So we had this idea. We actually had an agreement to have it fully funded by I think it was a Mista credit union that wanted to broker the deals with any customers, and we would have given preferred rates to, you know, investors or anything like that, or people interested in solar. Anyways, Mr. Credit Union was going to take care of that. I believe it was a Mista. And at the end of the day, we couldn't get a power purchase agreement. We had an agreement with the land. The city of Moncton was all for it. Looks great for them. And this isn't using, like, we were using, it's called a CDIF tax credit, but we weren't actually using like grant money or a COA or anything like that. There was a tax credit that people would get credit on if they invested in New Brunswick companies. So it was kind of based on that, and the numbers were great, but we didn't get a power purchase agreement. So the farm never happened, and the idea was that MB Power wanted to have that generator where the power would be used. So we kind of left that alone, that whole idea. And there's something in the Energy Act. I'd have to review it. So there's an Energy Act that the province has, and it's about who can sell electricity and who can't. And I'm not completely familiar with it. I'm just airing my old frustrations through this video, because I know there's been some talk on here, and I had a meeting with Jeff McFarland about co-ops, and he's set on the corruption in Irving and MB Power and stuff like that, which I don't know enough about to comment on. I have not seen that. But anyway, I just thought I would talk about solar farm co-op, which, you know, we had come up with years ago. So the workaround to say we did this, and we had a bunch of homeowners who wanted to be able to benefit from solar and not put it on their home, maybe benefit more doing it this way, would be to build the project on the premise of someone's, where there's a big load. So say a lumber mill, hospital, or something where their base load is never going to exceed what the solar farm generates. So this house right now, it's probably running 300 watts all the time. I'm always pulling my internet's on, my computer screens stay on, the fridge is on. All these things are always on. So there's constantly a need for electricity at 300 watts in this home. So scale that up to say a mill, and maybe it's 30,000 watts required all the time. So you could build a solar farm that never exceeds the base load, which means if you put a bi-directional meter on a smart meter, net meter, it would never go the opposite direction. But so pulling from the grid, but you would use all the electricity at peak on the best, coldest, sunniest day. That asset or that mill or whatever, that load would use all that electricity, and they would benefit from it. And you could give them a better rate than that they were buying from the utility from. And then instead of them paying you the utility, they would pay the owners of the co-op or the owners of the solar farm, because you as the homeowners are looking to benefit from solar. So it could get hooked up with NB Power and figure out kilowatts and credits and whatnot on different bills. That would be super cool. But that was just a workaround where you don't have to have a power purchase agreement with the utility. You're basically kicking them out and saying, hey, we're going to build this here, or maybe the mill builds it and the people own it, or something like that. And if they're not allowed to sell electricity, they would have a membership fee or a subscription, or crank up the maintenance or something, so that people could legally benefit from that. It would be a win for the load, so the mill, we'll say. It would be a win for the people. It wouldn't be a win for the utility, because they're not selling as much electricity anymore. So I believe on the military base in Gagetown, that is now the biggest solar field, I believe, in the Maritimes, and it does not go over their base load. So that electricity, I do not think, correct me if I'm wrong, there might be some people smarter about this project than I am, that load never goes past the military base, because the base load, dad joke there, is larger than what that solar field can generate. So there's some thoughts on a solar co-op, and you might want to discuss it. Are we done with the idea? Jump Energy's just kind of a shell company right now. We never really did anything with it. We made a lot of noise at the time, and does it make sense in the future? Possibly. Anyways, thanks for watching.